Shut up and sit down.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Bowhunter Chronicles podcast. Today's episode was recorded at the Novi Outdoorama Hunting Expo, and it was recorded during the actual expo, so there is a little bit of background noise, and there's a little bit of, at one point there's a lumberjack show taking place during the podcast, but the audio's good. I don't think you'll find any of that too distracting between all the laughs that were had. These guys, Time's Up Outdoors, are the real deal Detroit Firemen. These guys risk their lives every day that they're working, and in their spare time, put their efforts towards putting out a hunting TV show on the Carbon TV network, as well as a podcast. And they're just great guys, a lot like us. Like to drink beer, like to curse, like to have fun. And we were working the tethered booth, and these guys are directly across from us. And I had heard them on the Deer Hunter podcast. And if you want to hear like what these guys do, outside of their content, they do some hunting and fishing content as well. But the Deer Hunter podcast did an episode with them back July 4th of 2019. I think is right around there is when he posted that one. And oh my gosh, it talks about everything that they do as far as their everyday jobs and the climate of the fire department in the Detroit area. And, we touch on that a little bit at the end. I mean, we just talk hunting and a lot of turkey hunting, a lot of turkey tactics in this one. But man, we just had a ball laughing and carrying on, cutting up with these guys. So I think you're going to enjoy it. It's really a great episode. Definitely go check them out. Show them support. They've got a program going on right now where they're getting kids out. They got a turkey hunting contest for kids to submit an essay, and then they'll take them out on a guided filmed hunt. So if you've got kids that you want to get out hunting, or you want a good experience, you want to meet these guys, get a filmed hunt, have your kiddo write an essay and submit it to Nico. But man, this is a fun one. I was laughing the whole time I was editing it, so I think you guys are really going to appreciate it. So we were there at the expo. We got to see a lot of you listeners, a few of the Patreons, and we did get to pick up. We bought one of the Phantom starter kits to give away for the Patreon giveaway, and we did see some of the Patreons there too. So for that Patreon giveaway, we've got a Phantom and a tether and a lineman's belt. And actually, what I did is I bought 2 tethers and got them to throw in an extra carabiner. So just got a bigger eye on the rope, so you can girth hitch it through your lineman's loop, so you don't have to keep taking it on and off. So, but we do have that in our possession. So the winner of this quarter's Patreon giveaway is going to get that Phantom, the tether, the lineman's belt, that bow hunting course, the video course from Jason Samkoviak, and we talked to him earlier this year. And that's really great. He's got over 18 hours of videos kind of showing all of his tips and tricks. And then the swag pack and the year membership to Base Map. So still be going, checking that out, doing those gear drops, trying to win. John did not win this one, but I'm certain that he's going to win. It's inevitable. And you can use code Chronicles. You got to sign up online. I've been getting a lot of messages. Why you can't do it from your phone? It's just the nature of the beast. If you want to use the coupon code with any of those, you can use code Chronicles. And so, this would be the time to sign up for Patreon if you guys are going to do that, because this is 1 month, and we'll be pulling that winner the first week of April. So it's basically a $5 raffle ticket to get in to win all that stuff that I just mentioned. But the Phantom, it's a really cool saddle. I think you guys are really going to like it. I think, honestly, it's going to take some of the learning curve, as far as the comfort learning curve, out for a lot of guys or girls. But we want to say thank you to our newest Patreon, Tyler. I'm going to get your package out in the mail. I just got some new coffee from Tioga Rise, and so I'm going to start putting some samples of that in with the Patreon packs that I send out. And if you get back with me, I may have a shirt for you. I don't know what sizes I've got left, but thank you, another Patreon out of North Carolina. So, thanks for listening. We appreciate all of that. The Patreons are the ones that allow us to go to these shows, that allow us to do these live podcasts and things like that, like we're doing right now. But if that's not for you and you just are just following along for the content, appreciate it. Please just tell somebody about the podcast. It gets us out there, it gets us in front of somebody else, and maybe go on and leave us a review on however you're listening. And if you really like what we're doing, go ahead and leave us a review rather than just click the 5-star or 1-star or whatever you think button. Another cool thing about this podcast is we actually videoed this podcast, and it's already went out to the Patreons. But in a week or so, I'll put that up on our YouTube page. We've had a lot of growth over there on our YouTube page, but if you're not following along, definitely check that out, because we did video this podcast. So you get to see kind of who we're talking about, who's talking, how ugly they all are, and all of that. I mean, you think about the Detroit Fireman maybe in the calendars and all that. That's not these guys. These guys are freaking awesome, though. So I think you're really going to love this podcast. A lot of laughs. Thanks for listening. Enjoy the episode. Hey, everybody, Adam and John back with another episode of the Bowhunter Chronicles podcast. We are sitting here in the booth at Outdoorama with a bunch of flamers.
I actually did it.
Hey, you put me up to it. I'm going to do it. So we're here with Time's Up Outdoors. So these guys are Michigan guys, firefighters doing really good things, who are actually doing, an outdoor show on carbon. And one of them is just took off. He said, "You know what? I don't have a headset, so fuck you guys."
It's right here. The sound guy himself.
So, yeah, and this is one of our beta tests for our Patreons on our video. I think it's setup looks pretty good. So we'll have this up here real shortly for the Patreons. But so let's hear a little bit about Time's Up Outdoors, and who do we got sitting here?
Well, I'll go first. I'm Nico. I started my own version of Time's Up Outdoors back in 2012, which was basically just me being a cocky moron thinking that you just pick up a camera and have a TV show. So I started filming hunts, basically myself, and I had no clue what I was doing, editing stuff on iMovie, and that put me on to a show on the Outdoor Channel for a little bit. Basically, I sent that in to him as a demo reel. He hired me on as his cameraman for a little bit. Turned out to be a giant asshole. So I left there, said I'll never be on TV again.
We're not saying who he is.
Chris Brackett. That's who it is. Because I fear no evil.
So Nico taught Chris Brackett how to deal with outfitters and cameramen.
Yes, yeah, exactly. So I left him in 2015. So I never wanted to really do any TV stuff again. But I kept Time's Up going. It's just kind of like a social media thing. It was real small. And then I got in the fire department. I got a call from John, who just walked away one day, and asked, "Hey, you have any interest in filming hunts?" I'm like, kind of. I do it a little bit here and there. And it's kind of taken off into this with old boy Scott involved here. We kind of made a little tag team out of it. It's kind of weird. Scott's like a social media guru. He really runs the show on anything that's not involved with just straight killing things. If it's not outside, Scott's running the show on it. And that's just, he definitely does all the real work. And he gets pissed off that we don't do enough of it. So Scott does all that. John is, despite not being here, he's very good at the sound engineering, and he's very anal retentive, and I just come in here and hang out.
So we have our own version of that, John.
Yeah.
He's anal retentive about bows and
Adam
things
don't
like
do
that.
any work at all with the podcast.
But I said last night, I am the Scott of the podcast, and I was just thinking because he was the fucking guy that was talking. So we recorded a podcast on Time's Up Outdoors last night at the bar here with Ernie Power, John Eberhart, and a few of the other
Zach
tethered guys.
Gaylord.
Yeah, John from his mom. And
Big Chad, the hot dog eater.
So you guys definitely need to check them out. They're on Carbon TV. I mean, they are so gracious enough to have us in their booth,
yeah, right.
Showing us all their big time stuff, from the TV world. I mean,
Yeah.
John, the reason you're not hearing John Boersma over here is because he's starstruck.
Whatever. He went to school with Steve Ranella.
Yeah, well, the one thing you'll take away from the podcast we did with Times Up Outdoors is Scott's affinity, his love interest, his undying affection for Steve Ranella.
I'm so happy you're saying that.
And Mark Kenyon.
Oh, God.
Yes.
I'd like him a little bit better if he gives us cups.
So
I'm kidding again.
So Scott, I just thought was the mouth of the podcast. I didn't really know that he did anything
All the
involved with
legwork.
it because John set up everything like quietly. He said, "I've got a booth over there. We set up everything. Like we're gonna go over there." Scott's like, "Double Jameson, who's on?" So Scott, let's get a little introduction on you and your.
I'm Scott Zig. Everybody calls me Zig. I've been hunting my whole life, hunting and fishing. My dad took me hunting. My stepdad took me fishing, and I had a strong passion for the outdoors my whole life. I've been a fireman for going on 16 years now in April, and John and me were classmates in Detroit's Fire Academy 6 years ago, and John threw a whole bunch of ideas at me in 6 years, like weird ones. Like he would call me and he'd be like, "Hey, dude, we should make a cookbook, and we'll sell a bunch of them." And I'm like, "No."
Is
That's
it
a
Wild
sweet
Game
idea, though.
like Steve Ranella did?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, like Firehouse Cookbook.
Yeah.
So,
Like
subs
Firehouse Subs?
yeah, Firehouse Subs.
Exactly.
We actually have a couple guys that own those. Anyway, so he called me one day and he said, he goes, this is how he started the conversation. "Hey, I saw you posted a couple big bucks on your trail cam pictures." I said, "Yeah." "What's up?" He's like, "Well, do you ever think about filming your deer hunting stuff?" And I was like, "No." He's like, "We should do something like, start filming our hunts." And I'm like, maybe. I don't know. I don't know anything about that. But Nico Tanti, I think he's got something going on already. You should call him. And that's when he called you. And I was camping. These two met up at a bar. They called me. I'm with my family. They're like, "All right, we're doing it. Time's Up Outdoors." I'm like, "What are we doing?" "We're going to start filming our hunts." Okay. And it kind of morphed into, it's been almost 2 years now. It morphed into a Carbon TV show. Went from Instagram to YouTube to Carbon TV now. We started doing a podcast into it. As far as what I do for Time's Up, like Nico was saying, I do all the social media stuff. And then like a lot of the behind the scenes kind of stuff. Like I said, I'm super passionate about the outdoors, but these two guys had the opportunity to grow up in a rural area where I grew up in the city, and I went and visited my dad in the rural areas. So I didn't get as much time in the woods. They know a lot more about that stuff than I do. So I actually have learned a lot from them, and they aren't learning anything from me in the other aspects because they just don't pay attention to it, which is probably what makes me mad.
It's not that you're not saying; it's just they're not listening.
Yeah, no, they don't hear any of it. They're like, "Yeah, okay, whatever." So yeah, that's my story.
And then so John has so graciously decided to come back.
Hi.
He said I'll find my own fucking headphones. And so here he is. And so just a little introduction with you and Time's Up and kind of how everything. I mean, Scott stole the show a little bit there and it took all your thunder.
That's pretty typical of Scott, for sure.
I did, didn't I?
But no,
I
yeah,
figured it's because you weren't going to say anything.
I'm not going to. John Shido. I grew up in Dexter, Michigan, which is just probably 10 miles north of Ann Arbor. Grew up there hunting, fishing, all that stuff. And I actually started filming my hunts a little bit before Time's Up Outdoors kind of started. And so I'd been in the business, the AV business, my whole life, setting up sound and lights and running sound for bands and corporate speakers and stuff. So I'm real familiar with the tech side of stuff. And
You can say shit.
oh, okay, the tech side of shit. And so I just did that, and I liked filming my hunts. I was a big advocate in hunting and outdoors and conservation. And then Nico's dad was actually my first boss in the city of Detroit 5 years ago, going on 6. And I remember him telling me, he was like, "Yeah, my son's this camera guy and all this stuff." And I don't know what he said, but I'm like, "Oh, cool." And then Scott's actually the one that told me about Time's Up Outdoors. He's like, "Have you seen Nico's stuff?" I'm like, "No." And that's when one of my ideas actually kind of stuck. Like my cookbook, that would have been sweet, but
I wish I could remember the other things you called me
yeah,
about.
there's a lot of
There's
them.
more.
I had a lot of ideas.
I wouldn't talk to John for like 6 months, and he'd call me and be like, let's do a cookbook.
But so and then I called Dean. He hooked me up with Nico, and then the rest is history. That's pretty much it. So I handle the tech side of stuff, I mean, that's within budget because I've been around the tech side. All the stuff that you see in this booth is donated by the company that I work for the last 15 years of my life. And so, purchasing cameras and stuff and all the audio stuff. I'm a big audio buff. So, granted, we have to remain within what our budget allows. Because I can't
this big.
I can't rely on taking stuff from AV Squared all the time. So we got to buy our stuff. So we got some crappy mics, but that's pretty much where I come into play as a tech side and engineering side of it.
So what I think is going to be really interesting is like when this podcast actually goes to air is like John's going to message me and be like, what the fuck? That's not what we sounded like. I told you I had a board. I had everything there.
Right.
Because we did one in a crowded bar, like shit was going on the whole time. And, I'm like having a panic attack because I'm like, I can't hear. There's no headphones. Like I can't monitor any of this. And he's just over there turning dials, like doing this like you. He's giving hand gestures and stuff. Like to Scott, like, look at the fucking microphone. Like talking at the microphone. So
Like,
I'm real interested to see like what's going to happen as
so
this.
as of right now, I mean, the way that this is hooked up, I'm actually listening to a final product being here. We're all listening to a final product. So it's going to sound just like what we sound like. And so I have no doubt this is going to turn out really good, audio-wise. So, I mean, you guys definitely have an awesome setup here. Me, I just do it the way that we did it yesterday because that's how I've done it in the live setting. And so that's what I'm used to is running console and doing it. And that's actually going to sound worse because we're in a crowded bar with different mics. We didn't have the headsets on everybody, but it makes that kind of setup that we had yesterday was a little bit more homey. Kind of gets it out of like a professional level and kind of just like a bar side talk that everybody's just eavesdropping in on.
Oh, if this is going to be the lumberjack section of the the thing, so we may have to take like a certain break or something. Like,
yeah,
they start
two strokes
going crazy on those chainsaws.
Not sure what's going on, but as far as like what we've got going on here with our video, I'm really hoping that this is going to translate to that because we are far from professionals. This is not what I do for a living by any means. So Nico, for you, like, where did the Times Up Outdoors? What is Times Up, and what's the name? Because you guys are all firemen, so
yeah. The Times Up things, it doesn't make any sense when the story gets told. But my dad on his bow case always had "Cancel Christmas." It was always written on his bow case. Cancel Christmas was an old thing from when he was in the fire academy. There was a guy who always said you can't panic when in a fire situation. If you panic, you puke, you die. Cancel Christmas. So that was like the thing they always said. So he wrote Cancel Christmas and everything. So being, a kid following his dad around with a bow, I wanted something on mine. So I ended up writing Times Up on my bow case. And it was like every time I draw my bow back,
Time's up.
Time's up.
Time's
Whatever,
up. Someone's about to die.
Time's up. Something about to die. So when I decided to make my own little Facebook page back in 2012, it was just Times Up Outdoors. I got a tattoo with an hourglass in it and a deer skull on my back when I was 18, and that basically turned into this logo. So that's pretty much what it ended up being. It morphed into that.
What other kind of tattoos on your body?
I've got a couple tattoos, John.
Oh,
Might
okay.
be
He's got
one,
a smiley face on his ass.
might be a tattoo on my ass of a smiley face, flipping a middle finger. It's classy.
So for anybody that's listening and you're saying like, well, these guys are so big time. How did you guys ever hook up with these guys? So they just happen to be across from the tethered booth. We're helping out with the tethered booth here at the Outdoorama, and I was like, oh shit, I've heard those guys on the Deer Hunter podcast.
Yeah.
Like they are just as vulgar in person as they were like a couple beers in. I'm like, I think these guys are going to be cool. So then we just ended up talking, and it was like just talking about like people that are creating stuff and doing things and in the all the things that Scott does and Nico doesn't do. He doesn't talk, and John doesn't talk, and so they just set up all the other things. But what you guys have going on right here right now is pretty cool. Like, I'll be talking to Scott and he'll be like, hold on, there's a 12-year-old walking by, I gotta run out there. And I'm like, what's that all about? So,
or it would be me yelling, hey kid, how
hey, kid,
old
you
are
want
you?
some candy? So what do you guys have going on with that?
Nico started this. We do a youth turkey hunt giveaway. 12 to 16 is the age range. We kind of tweak it a little bit if they're 11, but mom and dad have them hunting and shooting already. But this year's a little different. Last year we did like a photo contest online, and the winner won a guided filmed turkey hunt with us. And it's actually one of our episodes on Carbon TV. And last year was cool because a kid brought his dad, and they both shot a turkey. So this year it's a little different. They got to write an essay to us. They're going to email us an essay telling us why they think we should take them turkey hunting. We want them to work for it a little bit just to make it more take ownership in actually winning it rather than just a popularity contest whose mom's got more friends on Facebook. Right. So, that's what we're doing. One of our things is we really want to get new people into the outdoors, and everybody's faces are always in their phones, and that's why we started, creating, our show, our content that we put out there. So one of the biggest things you can do is get kids into the woods. So it's just one way to get a new kid interested in turkey hunting or hunting in general.
That's why we generally like the kids that grew up around hunting, maybe, shoot guns, go shooting pop cans and stuff in the backyard and all that. But what we did last year, it worked. We essentially had them submit a picture, and whoever got more likes on their picture won the turkey hunt. Well, like you said, that somebody's mom had 10,000 followers and everybody liked it, and he's a winner. But now we're going to submit these random stories, these 3 top stories that we all like. We'll all pick one, submit them onto Facebook, and then let our followers decide who's going to be the winner.
Yeah.
And then, there's going to be no name on it. There's going to be no bias. So our followers are going to pretty much dictate what kid wins the contest. So hopefully we've got a couple of entries. Nico, we actually pay for a company G Suite, and Nico has yet to log into that. So
I've logged in there one time. It's this whole youth
all the
turkey
emails
hunt
are going
thing.
to him.
Yeah, I'm receiving all the emails, so I have to do something now. But all this youth hunt thing is something that before any of this started, right out of high school, I coached sports right out of high school, so I was always with kids. And I started taking I did a youth waterfowl hunt. That was like my first thing. So I started taking kids out. My brother was 5 years younger than me, so it was really just a reason for me to continue to duck hunt and to get to go earlier and shoot more birds. But having 5-6 kids that are under 16 and haven't really hunted much, swing a shotgun around in close proximities, despite having some really cool hunts, got a little nerve-wracking. So despite doing it for years and years, we switched over to turkeys. It's a little more controlled and a little less liability involved.
So last year you had the giveaway hunt, but you also filmed, you were saying last night, like you guys filmed like 26 hunts? Whoa.
Yeah, on film, it's 27 birds.
27, yeah.
27
between
birds.
him and his brother and like all of us together, 27 birds.
27 turkeys.
28 turkey hunts. Addie, we couldn't get her a bird, but we filmed the whole thing. It was 8 hours. My 8-year-old, she was like, she put up with more shit than I probably would have put up with.
She was awesome.
We kept asking her throughout the day, "Are you done yet?" And she's like, "No." It rained. It was buggy. It was hot. It was shit. It was a shitty day.
We were losing. We were stalking.
We had her crab walking across below grass. Like it's a cool video. We got the video on our YouTube channel. It didn't make Carbon TV, but
yeah. Getting youth it's a big push for us. It's something that we're all pretty passionate about.
I have kids. John's got a kid, and Nico's probably gonna have kids like any day now.
No.
But super important to me to keep this whole outdoors thing going. And you see all these articles all the time on Facebook about how low our numbers are, and it scares me when I read those articles. So I think that just trying to get new people involved is important.
So one of the themes with the Time's Up Outdoors podcast and things like that is like, if you're not there, they're going to talk a lot of shit about you. So Nico, you weren't there last night.
Naturally.
So all we heard about was like how your introduction into the outdoors and everything. And then you get this guy on turkey hunting and it's like a whole nother level. He's calling turkeys for everybody and all that. So how did you get into turkey hunting, turkey calling, and that side of things?
It's kind of, I don't really know what took off with it. I started turkey hunting when I think it was 15, the first time I really did it. My dad didn't really turkey hunt much growing up. My dad's from Detroit, so he moved us out of the city when I was a young kid. My mom got carjacked a couple times, so we left the city. But he had never hunted really at all until then. A friend of his got him into it. He bought 20 acres after a while when I was a young kid and started hunting on there. And then I just asked him to take me out one day. So we went turkey hunting, and I remember it clear as day. We were sitting down. It was thunderstorming on opening day. We were watching a tom across the field strutting around and gobbling. You couldn't even hear him gobbling. It was raining so hard. And all of a sudden there was a Jake in the decoys. And I just shot it. I didn't even think anything about it, asking questions. I just killed this bird. And that was it. And ever since then, I've been hooked. So I don't really know what got me into it to where I am now, where I have a true passion for turkeys. I think it's because I can take so many people out. It's just one of those things where you don't have to worry about being loud and scent control and the wind direction and all that. You can just go hunt, and it's the fun of it and the passion can be there, and you can hang out with your friends and drive around and find birds. And I've been fortunate enough where I live. I grew up in a real small town, one blinking red light in the middle of nowhere. And I coached enough kids to where the parents all know me, so I can hunt a lot of different pieces of land. And my brother happened to become best friends with the biggest farm in the county. So I was able to hunt all that land, so we could turkey hunt everywhere. So I just got to do it a lot. And instead of spring break trips in high school, my dad would take me to Nebraska and Kansas, and we'd shoot Merriams and Rios. And so it's just become, just through years of doing it, a huge passion. And now I look forward to it more than pretty much anything.
So with that, just from that little snippet, where are you at on the slam, right?
I've got 3 of the 4. We went to Florida. My brother, my dad, and I went to Florida. We had no clue what we were doing. We thought we did. We thought we were researching enough. We went in late March, and it was pretty much done. They were done gobbling. We got our butts kicked. We saw more rattlesnakes than we did turkeys. But we'll be going back probably not this spring, but the following spring. My dad needs one more with his bow to have the slam with the bow. And then I need one more. My brother needs a Merriam and a Florida bird, and that's it. Until we go to Mexico and shoot one of those guilds or whatever they're called, them crazy-looking peacock birds.
So we've had questions on, we brought on Zach from the Hunting Public last year, and we talked a little bit about the different types of turkeys and the different things that you run into while you're hunting them. Is there different strategies do they react differently to different calls? I mean, because our listeners are all across the country, and we've all across the world, I guess. I mean, one of our patrons is in Switzerland.
Nice.
So I don't know if they even have a bird like a turkey.
cow.
So it's all interesting type stuff, and everything doesn't translate just because we hunt easterns here.
Right.
You know?
So basically, I've hunted Merriams and Rios, and I've always hunted their early bow seasons they have out there, so it's still a little bit colder. And for the most part, the birds are still pretty flocked up. So the big difference from here to there, from Michigan to out west, is that where if you might see a dozen birds in a group, it's a pretty big flock of turkeys for easterns. You'll see 150 in a group to 200, and it's just another field full of turkeys. And they travel like that. But as far as situations and decoys go, I haven't really changed much, and I've had pretty good luck with it. They call a lot more. Their hens are way more vocal out there, at least that time of the year. It's real, real loud. So that's probably been the biggest thing, is that you can get away with overcalling more. And I think it might make some people from out west mad, but I think they're easier to kill because of the terrain that I've hunted in.
You gotta be careful with those western hunters.
I know, they're going to get mad.
They're sensitive.
We go out there to bow. Number one, we bow hunt. It's pretty much all public land or knocking on doors. I've never been told no out there for bow hunting because nobody bow hunts turkeys. They hardly bow hunt anything, but they definitely don't bow hunt turkeys in that area. So
there you go.
Basically,
Adam. You can go out there and wound a bunch of them.
Yeah. It's
hey, wait. We can get out there with the trad bow. I mean,
yeah, there you go.
Yeah, that'd be the place to do it. It's all big, dead, down timber, man. You run them big draws that they got and just wait for them to walk by the other side.
Just fling air like Robin.
Launch them. Let them all rip.
So, I mean, I think that's awesome. I guess I didn't realize that you basically bow hunted all of them, because we tried that in the last couple of years and just couldn't do it. The 2 years ago, I was trying to film and trying to do other. I called in some turkeys, I called in some jakes, and the camera's in the way, and all sorts of stuff, hunting from blinds and everything. Last year, go to our YouTube page. Our listeners have seen it, but we called in. My father-in-law used to call for Rod Benson game calls, so he used to go to the seminars like this and do turkey calls and do all that stuff and call people over and whatever. So he can call birds, and he's hunted birds all over the state of Michigan, just crazy, right? So we go out, and end up calling it. He calls in this bird on a string. I mean, we don't usually hunt with decoys. We're usually running gun, and a shotgun. It's just, I don't want to say it's easy, but if you put the time in, you're gonna kill a bird. It's not.
We would have tagged out
all of us.
Yeah,
all of us. And so we had the decoy set up from here to the computer away for Birds are gobbling everywhere around us. He's calling. We're in a tent. He's set up behind us, behind this berm, so he can't see this field that we're on. This bird comes in silent, spit drumming. Every time he would call, it'd puff up and spit drum, come running in, whip the shit out of the decoy. I drew back. I anchored for like 0.2 seconds, and the whole scope housing peep was full of black. I shot the fucking decoy. And I wing butted this.
Yeah, he hit the bird, but it went through his wing butt and then into the decoy.
It would have been a great broadside shot.
He 12-ringed the decoy. Like, he was dead. Like, I think we actually have a picture of the decoy.
It happens for sure.
Yeah,
What kind of decoy were you running? Like an avian? Was it an inflatable?
Oh yeah. So I had to go home and patch it because he was really dead after that.
We did a Kansas trip, and we were kicking birds' ass, except for my brother, who's a few years younger than me. He's running the booth for us right now. And we were in Kansas, and it was super, super windy as usual. And him and I were together, and he put down his compound. He's all pissed off and picked up this crossbow that we had been bringing with us like as a backup, you know. And I called this Tom in. There's two of them from forever away, and they came running in, and they got to 10 yards. And he totally missed with his crossbow. I'll never forget it. I'll never live it down. Just he launched an arrow 1,000 yards past this bird's head, man. It happens for sure.
Well, that was like, so we...
Well, that was the second bird of that.
That was the second bird of that debacle.
Because Adam had first season, so we were up there. There was 4 of us up, and Adam's shooting, and the 3 of us are calling and filming. So we're the support staff, but the first day we'd went up the first night, found the spot just out on. We were heading to my property. We ended up passing some birds, turned around, came back, and they had crossed the road. So we just pulled up our Onyx, and we're like, "Man, this is public back in there." And it was just like it was meant to be. Like we looked at it and like, shit, they're going on to public, and then back in the middle of all these pines and stuff was this big open field. We drove up to the next road, come back on the power line. We walked in there, and it was just like, oh, I mean, literally turkey tracks, deer tracks. Like, holy shit, we put the tent up. Like, we got to get back here in the morning. And we're at Adam's cabin in Baldwin there. And Frank and Ernie get there and end up, Frank's like digging around through the old cabin. He finds one of the first microwaves that were ever made. In the closet. There's a radar range or something.
Is it the one with the turn dial on it?
Yeah. It didn't even. So we had to steal one of the knobs off the stove to turn the dial. But anyway, so we get up in the morning, and it literally takes Frank like an hour to 2 hours to cook us all Jimmy Dean pre-made, freaking sandwiches in this. I'm like, dude, we have to go. We're gonna be late. So needless to say, we get up to the spot, and it's getting light. The birds are already on the field. We blow them off, so then we go and we start hunting other spots. And our listeners have already heard this story probably too many times. But so we get out to another spot. We got some birds going, but they're way off. I end up losing one of my brand new Hex gloves, and I'm pissed off. I'm like, you guys, we're going to move. I'm going to go find my glove. Those guys move over. I give the camera to Ernie.
He is a retired 59-year-old man,
electrician.
He's not an audio video guy.
Super excited, though. So I give him the camera. I'm like, I'm going to go find my glove, whatever. You guys move over to the next hill. I run around. I can't find my glove. Come back to that spot. I can hear everything that's going on. They're up on the next knoll over. And I hear Frank calling. I hear the bird gobbling. Now he's up in close. And then all of a sudden I hear, and then I hear the bird gobble, and then I hear Frank call. I'm like, that was a miss. So I went back out to the road. I ended up finding my glove on the way out.
Oh, sweet.
And so I was like, oh, yeah, super. And so I get out there. I'm waiting. I'm texting Adam, like, what's going on? And then they come out, and Ernie's like, oh, yeah, I got it all on camera, And we looked at the footage, and holy shit, we had if you're a biologist and you needed to check out the bark on a tree, that was the footage was perfect. Out of 20 minutes or 15 minutes of footage, we had probably less than 30 seconds of the actual bird. It was just whew, went through, and then he zoomed in on a tree, and so he's looking at the viewfinder, but he's looking past it, and he's like, oh yeah.
Well, he called this bird in from 500 yards away, across this private, up this ridge, down and over,
And he had it zoomed in all the way out, like waiting for him to come through, and he never zoomed back out.
Oh,
So
yeah.
we got the audio of the bird gobbling and all that. But
Yeah.
I hit a branch. But there was the three of us with no blind, no nothing, just run and gun.
You got the bird into 20 yards.
Yeah.
I know all about those pesky branches.
Yeah. And even after, like, Adam shot and the arrow hit a stump behind it, the bird, like,
gobbled.
jumped and gobbled, you know. And then ended up, Frank called him back around to him. So, I mean, he was never spooked. I mean, that's one nice thing about, you know, bow.
Yeah, and especially with birds too. Even if it was a shotgun, sometimes that doesn't even happen. I mean, we've had them where they just essentially they're coming in for a reason. They're pissed. Like I said, they don't care. I mean, you could be doing jumping jacks if they want to come in on a string, they're coming in, and they're coming in for a reason. That arrow just kind of pissed them off even more, probably.
Truth be told, that's a big reason we shoot so many birds over the last few years. Is if I get a field with 5 times in it, my goal is to kill those 5 times in it. So we'll shoot one, and you might have 4 come in at a time. It's okay. Well, nobody, you see on TV, a lot of guys will jump up and take off. Like, nobody move until they leave. So that bird's flopping around, and the turkeys might jump it and do their thing, and then they'll eventually leave. We'll pick up that bird. I've killed 3 birds out of the same field, same girl. Like there was 4, 3, and there's 2 the same day. Like, if you just wait them out, let them leave. You'll kill the other ones too. They all have a pea for a brain. They're all going to come back eventually.
Yeah, that's awesome. So we get a lot of questions about, like, from Frank and stuff like that. We only have, like, our experiences. So we hunt public land, like, not a lot of field, not a lot of ag, not a lot of private, It's all just going out and finding birds. I mean, we went to a spot that he hunted 30 years ago, and we called in 2 really nice toms right to us in this bottom. And there was 5 of us that day, all spread out, no blind, camera, the whole works, 2 bows, like, just, So he knows how to call turkeys, but if you don't know how to call turkeys, for someone who's trying to call turkeys and with tactics, they might have a property that has birds on it or something like that. So what would you...
So I just talked to a guy about this earlier today. He was kind of saying how he's been trying to get birds, and so he has property. He knows his turkey's there. He just hasn't been able to get it done. So, and we've talked about this before. My biggest piece of advice: if you have birds, like even if it's public land, you've scouted it out. If there's birds in the area, if you can find where their midday strut zone is, so you can find their dust bowls, start looking for those dust bowls, and where they're you'll find full of shit and all that stuff. If you can find that spot, it's usually gonna be somewhere where they got a lot of sun in the middle of the day. It's kind of secluded. Usually it's got a looser soil to it, sand if you can find it. They're gonna be there. If you find those dust bowls, they're going to come there at some point during the day. It might not be till 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and it might be at 8 in the morning. It kind of depends on your zone. But I've gone into new areas, scouted it the day before, found that, and just sat down. Eventually they come by. Even if you suck at calling, they're gonna come to that spot at some point. That's my biggest. If you have no clue what you're doing, but you want to shoot a turkey, find those dust bowls and sit over it.
When you're sitting in that dust bowl, are you putting out decoys, or are you calling it all, or are you just being quiet and sitting there?
I've done both because I've been kind of curious about it, and I've tried it out. Usually, if it's an area where I'm not really sure how the birds are reacting, I don't know, I'll go single hen, and I'll call every 20 minutes.
Yep.
Real, like, lost yelp sounds. Yep. And then I'll try to get a response out of it. I'm real big on not overcalling, especially in Michigan, because everybody in their boat hunts, especially if you're hunting in a heavier impact area like public land. Right. So I keep it every 20 to 30 minutes, and I just try to sound lost. And then if you get a response out of it, you kind of got to go off of how that feels.
Well, that's one thing that I know that I don't want to say had success with, but we've called in birds and fucked them up or whatever just because of the dynamic of it. But we're always moving, always moving, always moving. So doing walking and calling with that yelping, you're kind of sounding like a lost hen just because you're actually moving away. And then when you stop, then that's when you get the response, because you're like, hey, the bird's like, hey, wait up, or like, what happened? Like a lot of times we'll call and there'll be nothing, and you'll fall asleep or forget or whatever, and either those birds come in silent or they start gobbling 25, 30 minutes later because they're like, wait, where was that again? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, especially, turkeys, there's a reason the males are the pretty ones. Same with peacocks and a lot of birds in general, that females come to them. That's why a lot of these birds and different species do the dances, and that's why toms strut around and spit and drum, and they're showing off. So they want you to come to them as to call them like a hen. So you kind of got to figure out what that button is to push, or maybe you get them riled up enough and then you shut up and leave them cold-hearted. Eventually they're going to try to come find you.
That's what I was going to say. I was talking to a guy who actually he raises easterns, and
There it is.
that doesn't sound too bad.
No, it's usually quick too.
Yeah, that'll be just a second. But a guy that actually
Just like your sex life.
he raised, yeah, very just quick. Usually about 8-10 seconds. But he was telling, he said, that the guy knows everything that there is to know about habitat and turkey and stuff like that. And he's like, honestly, the biggest reason that people lose birds is because they call too much. And he said, if you're calling at a gobbler, then he's gobbling in the woods and gobbling in the woods, and you're calling and he's gobbling, and you're calling. That's why he's not doing anything. If you can picture that, and as long as he's gobbling, he's not moving.
Right.
He's just sitting there. He's waiting for them. I mean, the chances are, especially during our spring turkey season, that he's got hens already. He's just trying to get, okay, you got a lost hen or something. He's just going to kind of wait. And as soon as you shut up, then he gets curious. He's like, okay, well, she's not calling at me because he's got a Tom or a Jake that she's with. And so essentially that's when he starts getting curious. He starts herding his hens over there, and then sees, there's a decoy over there. You got a mounted Jake on a hen, and that's when he gets pissed off and comes in on a line. But that was what I was going to say, is that the biggest thing, if you want to sound like a hen, then you chase that Tom, very, very stealthily, I might add, or you just stop.
Yeah. Whenever I hear a bird, if I hear him gobbling, my goal is to get within 150 yards of him.
Right.
And then I'll start calling to him. So if I do some sort of shot gobble and I can get him to sound off, I want to get as close to him as I can. And then I'll start calling. Just because you get him just close, especially if you're using a shotgun, get him to 50 yards, I'm going to kill you. So I just need him to come check it out a little bit.
And that shot gobble, too, that's a pretty cool thing that actually, Hunter was the one that showed me that. And it's been 1,000 years people have been doing it with that barred owl. Yeah. That they hate him. And I've heard it. Hunter did a story on our Instagram, opening morning of turkey. He's out there with his bow. They're still in the roost, but gobbling on, maybe at the base of a tree or something. And you could for whatever reason, Hunter can make the best bird noises I've ever heard, just with his mouth. And he does his barred owl just with his mouth. And you hear all these gobblers just light up and just shock out. So you're locating them. You know where they're roosting. You know where they are. And as long as you just shut up, I guess that's how I've had the most success.
Yeah. That's a big thing that we do that I think a lot of people do different is obviously the morning hunt right off the roost. That's when all the excitement is. You hear all the gobbles. And It's cool getting them to fly down. But it's hard to kill birds off the roost, man. They got a ton of hens. So in Michigan, we're fortunate to be able to hunt them all day. A lot of these other states, they can only hunt till noon, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I kill probably 70% of my birds is between like 11 and 2. Because as soon as they breed those hens, now they're lonely and horny again. And you just got to sound like that little slut walking around, and that's all you.
See, years ago when I first started, we had a cutoff. I think it was 4 o'clock. You couldn't hunt, all day, and that was back. There wasn't even birds like anywhere near our house. We're in Twin Lake, Muskegon area, West Michigan. We'd have to drive up towards Baldwin and find the birds, and it was, a draw. Like it might be a couple years before you got a tag again.
Oh no shit.
Yeah, it was. Talking back in the mid-'80s and stuff.
Back when I started turkey hunting, all this stuff you guys are talking about. I don't
know. Back when you started turkey hunting,
my first time turkey hunting was last year. Opening day, 10 minutes, shot a bird in the face, and I was done. It was awesome.
Yes. Kind of like your
but then but then we did hunt all day because me and him right away were done. But we were trying to get him a bird, and we hunted all day. We took naps in our blinds and.
I'm a big advocate for turkey nap blinds.
We were out there all day. We walked, we moved blinds. It was a lot of fun, but after those two, it was tough. The rest of the day wasn't so easy.
That's how it goes.
Yeah, so my wife is her dad is the fucking Grizzly Adams, right? So he's Uncle Frank on our podcast. He does all the crazy shit, right? Well, she never was invited hunting, so she never got to go, and so then her and I started turkey hunting and going back and forth, and that nap time thing that you're talking about, she goes hunting, she tries to fit turkey hunting into her schedule now to spend time with her dad, but it's like driving around and eating breakfast pizza and coffee and taking a nap in the sun and shit
right
That's it.
And so that kind of goes back into that bringing kids involved into it, and we were talking with John gives me shit because he's making me kill a bird with my wheel bow before I switch to traditional or do anything like that, right?
Yeah, technically he killed the decoy, but that doesn't count.
And the coyotes killed that bird that I shot in the wing, I'm sure. So the turkey died, just kind of by my hand, but not some, you can really. We showed it on our.
Yeah, I've been there.
Thing, so
I've done it.
It's real. It's not. You're not bullshitting.
Oh,
people.
I've wounded him with my bow too. I mean,
I
I
almost
looked like Robin Hood. I emptied my quiver.
Yeah, I had a
gave
Kansas trip like that.
gave him the
I
old-
left because I ran out of arrows.
My brother was laughing at me. He's like, "That one's gonna come back. The next time we see that bird, he's gonna have all the hens because he's got a pimp stroll, man. I hit him right, low in the leg, and he's out. Just
I almost lost that Jake this year with that shotgun.
Yeah, with the shotgun.
and that's in the
Yeah,
on our YouTube
that's
channel.
That's on
He
YouTube.
chases Jake down. It's pretty funny.
I mean,
I was chasing him with the camera. We're running.
And that's one of the reasons that he didn't get a bird because we had like
yeah.
7 toms out there, man. He shoots this double beard. And then I see this Jake at like 60, 65 yards. I'm like, I got a nice choke in this gun. Got that pattern master. Boom. Send it. He dumps. I'm like, oh, sweet. And then
John,
all of a
your
sudden,
bird is getting up.
all
John,
of
your
a
bird
sudden-
is getting up.
We got all these toms just over this ridge. And I'm waiting. We're kind of cackling at them, waiting them out. And they start coming over the ridge. All of a sudden, I hear, John, your bird is getting up. John, your bird,
Is that
your
still
bird
on
is
our
gone.
YouTube channel?
Your bird is gone.
It's on our
Go.
YouTube. The whole thing's
I'm like,
on
dude,
YouTube.
we got all these toms right here. Fuck that bird. I'm like, dude, no way. He's like, whatever. I'll shoot another tom, dude. He's like, you better go get that bird. So I go there. There's just a pile of feathers. I mean, we saw the bird dump. It was just done. Didn't even flap a single wing when it was on the ground. And then all of a sudden it was just gone. So me and him run out of the blind, chase it down. And there's actually in our intro or one of the videos that we have, there's a video of me standing at a wood line with my shotgun, like, oh shit, boom, dump it again. So yeah, that was.
If you want to act like that shit doesn't happen, then I don't want to.
Oh,
I don't want to pay
You
attention
haven't
to
been
what.
out long enough.
I don't want to know what kind of
Oh.
content you're creating.
No.
Because I think you're a liar.
No, we've got we have a million podcasts on YouTube, whatever, 100 videos or something. We have like 5 hunts and 1 kill, 1 wound, 1 miss, and then a double miss
Nice.
of a really nice buck. So
Uncle
and,
Frank.
and my father-in-law, the turkey that he missed, he says is the biggest bird he's ever seen, and he in 1983 he shot the state record for
Oh wow.
the state of Michigan.
Oh, wow.
And it's a big bird.
Yeah.
And they're like, but their audio, like you need to listen to the audio. Like you guys know because you do editing and stuff. Like when you the real stuff, like the like you only have so much video content. I mean, like literally, the turkey comes in. He drew back and shot just like I did, and he was giving me so much shit for. Oh, you got to anchor, you got to do
Quick
this
draw,
stuff, right?
McGraw.
So, but they're like, that's the biggest turkey I've ever seen. He stepped over the decoys. It's like a Tyrannosaurus. Like, and these two are like, they're grumpy old men. They're 2 old, retired old men, like back and forth.
Yeah, Ernie's like, "What are you doing? Take your time." You hear all this audio, and then you can hear Frank fiddling. He's trying, and the bird's still here. I mean,
he
he's
didn't even
strutting
care.
around.
He's strutting around.
And you hear Frank trying to get another arrow out of the quiver. I'm like, how many times do we have to tell you?
And they're
Frank,
going,
get an extra arrow
Yeah.
ready.
Have it on the go.
Like, do you see me? Like, when we get in the blind, I pull a freaking arrow out,
I do the
put it
same
on my
thing.
bow, I break another arrow loose in
Yep.
my quiver, so I'm not sitting there screwing around.
Me too.
Frank's like grabbing it, and you can hear it click, click. And he was doing that one with the buck, too.
well, oh my God. So, our listeners have heard this, but, whatever. So, we're sitting there, and I'm videoing for my father-in-law. And my buddy, he's got this little piece of private, and he says, he's already tagged out. He's like, there's some really nice bucks over there. Like, just go down there if you just want to shoot another deer. If you still got another tag, go down there. There's deer down there every day. So I said, well, I already shot a deer this year, and I've had some opportunities. So my father-in-law missed a booner in Nebraska, and he missed a small buck here in Michigan. And then he did, we hunted in Missouri. He didn't see, but 2 deer in 10 days. So he's like, fuck hunting. So I'm like,
We've all been there.
I'm like, do you care if I'm the shooter, or can I just take Frank out there and video? He's like, he knows my father-in-law, so he's like, don't shoot any small bucks. If you want to shoot a doe, whatever. So we hunt the first day, don't see anything, and you guys again for production value, I did all this stuff, I videoed him getting ready in the truck.
All the
this stuff.
B-roll, everything.
Yeah.
You had an episode in mind,
Yep.
essentially.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And
then-
Frank, here's the thing. Frank, he brings everything, even the kitchen sink. I mean, he's got like, you need this. Oh yeah, and he's like, and when you get to his house, we tell him like 5 o'clock. You get there at 5 o'clock, he's still packing his shit. Like,
And then he's like, he'll get all the way out to the truck and get ready to start the truck. He's like, I got a shit. So
Yeah.
he'll go back in the house.
so
But I had everything, and everything was good. Didn't see a single thing. So the next day, he's like, oh, look this. Well, we got 4 inches of snow. I didn't do all that stuff because I was like, oh, whatever. So I can't use any of the stuff from the day before because now there's 4 inches of snow on the ground.
Yep.
This doe comes in, and she starts coming over, and he's going to shoot her, and we're doing and I hunt from a saddle, he hunts from a climber, so I wasn't going to climb up behind him. So I was in a different tree. I'm videoing this doe. She's coming in. I'm like tight on her, and she's pretty far away from where I'm at. So I start panning out so I can get him in the shot with the deer. As I pan out, we catch moving over the left, and this big old 8-point steps out and just walks right up. Like that must have been like a late estrus doe, because the wind was way wrong for there. So he steps right up. My father-in-law draws back. I don't get the shot on. I mean, I don't get the actual shot. I'm watching the deer, but he goes behind a tree. He misses him at 28 yards. The deer does not care, and he just keeps walking right up. And my father-in-law is going, motherfucker, and he's dancing around on the tree stand. And I'm going, knock another arrow. Knock another arrow. And he's looking at me going, what? What? I'm like, knock an arrow. And the deer is looking at me in the middle of the slogging road. But there's a tree where Frank can't see him, So he knocks another arrow, misses him at 45, sends one right over his back.
oh,
It's
yeah.
a bad day.
And so that's one of the ones that's on our YouTube
And he
channel.
still hunts?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Well, this is after he missed a booner
Right.
already, and he
Yeah.
missed a booner at 25 yards in Nebraska.
So,
So then, we shoot leagues, winter leagues, and Frank, he struggles. I mean, like the one night he missed it was a 25-yard target. He missed all 4 shots.
Oh no!
Like completely missed the silhouette
The animal.
of the pig and the goose.
that's
Like,
tough.
yeah, I mean, come on. So the next week, I'm like, have you he got this bow new last fall? It's the new Bowtech. I'm like, he had it set up by a good Bowtech, but I'm like, have you had it rechecked or anything? Have you shot it through the paper? No. So we got done shooting the one night after leagues. I'm like, let's go. We were playing around with those ethics head, and he shoots it through the paper, and he's got like a 5-inch high right freaking tear. I'm like,
Dang.
that's why you're missing.
Yeah.
That as you move back, and with that massive of a tear, your arrow's doing all kinds of crazy shit. You're not going to be consistent.
And then you're so susceptible to any kind of element, wind, rain.
Yeah. I mean, and we're inside, and he's missing like
Right.
this. So, and Frank, he likes to start the chainsaw. He's got, you guys know what I'm talking
yeah.
about. So
So exactly what you're talking about.
So when you have a bow that's out of tune and you're doing that, and your form's a little off, it just magnifies it.
Yeah, it's
So-
tough.
So what are you guys shooting for bow setups? Like I don't see. You've got all your sponsors and all the stuff here on the screen behind us. And
No sponsors.
No
Zero
sponsors.
sponsors.
Just
So
partners.
what
Just
do you
partners.
what do you guys?
I shoot an old Matthews Adrenaline. So what is that? 2007 bow, I think. That
Okay.
was my old man's bow for a while. Up until that, I was shooting a Matthews older than that. I just picked it up a couple years ago. I'm real. Once I like it, I have a hard time putting it down. It feels good in my hand, and I keep killing shit with it. So eventually, I'll get tired of it and I'll move on. But until that happens, I just keep shooting that thing. So
Should I tell them about?
Yeah,
my-
what did you
what
start
did you
the
shoot
year
2
with?
years ago?
What did you start the
So
year
I
with?
only really got into bow hunting probably like 7-8 years ago, and I just took my dad's old Bowtech from the 90s, and that's what I.
What bow though?
And I don't. Do you guys remember what it's called?
You could probably find a fossil for it if you go
Yeah.
digging around.
This
I
thing
don't
was-
even remember.
Well, there's some of those old bows like that Bowtech General.
It wasn't that.
Is like a bow that is like holds its value. It's probably worth more today than it was back
It was,
then.
you
This
know,
thing had an
whatever
over-
it was. My buddy owns a bow shop in Freeport, and I was like, "What's this worth?" He's like, "Nothing." I was like, "Okay."
This thing have an overdraw on it.
Yeah, it was terrible. I mean, it was my dad's bow, And then I was stuck on it. I wanted to kill something with it because it was my dad's bow. And then I told my dad that, and he was like, "That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard." And then he's like, "It's not like I'm dead." So, so last year I was at a friend's for a barbecue, and his father-in-law had bought a Prime Rise like the year before, brand new. And he couldn't shoot it anymore because of a shoulder surgery and was going to a crossbow. And so he gave me a killer deal on this bow, and I like couldn't pass it up. So I bought that and started shooting that. I really love that bow. I did not kill anything with it yet, but I killed a tree branch with it. There was a giant 8-point buck on the other side of that tree branch.
It's sweet footage.
I have footage of it. We're gonna put
hilarious.
the footage out soon. I don't know why I haven't yet, but probably because I'm a little bit embarrassed.
Pride.
Yeah.
it's
You know,
exactly
you hear
why.
people shoot the tree branch or whatever. It's like the arrow gets stuck in the tree branch. Scott's arrow didn't get all the way off his riser yet. And he
The
hit
tree branch is
It was
right in front of
there.
You can see the tree branch. Like you would have had to move the tree branch to film it
Yeah,
correctly.
It's
he
like-
actually shoots it and then reaches into his pocket, pulls his easy cuts out, and goes click.
I'm pretty positive that it was like the number one target buck I had on camera. I had some really nice bucks on my cameras this year, and that was like early bow season, and it was a big 8-point. He was at 30 yards. He came out and he was looking in my direction. He was behind a bunch of trees, and then he just slowly took a couple steps out right into a clearing, 30 yards, and I'm like, first off, my shoulder popped out of socket when I pulled my bow back. I never had that happen. But you can see in the video, I pull back and it went like this, and then adrenaline took over and I pulled back. And then I look at my shoulder a couple times like, it hurt. I'm like, whatever. I'm looking. And you watch the arrow hit the tree branch right away and it just deflects it down. And I didn't know that's what happened. So I'm like, what the fuck did I just do? Like, how did that happen? The arrow went.
Knock an arrow, Scott.
It went,
Knock another
it went
arrow.
10 yards. Oh, no, the deer was gone. He was gone. The arrow was 10 yards in front of him, like closer to me. I'm thinking, did I bump the scope? Did I bump my sights or something? Walking out. And I turned the video camera on, playback, and I watched it. I'm like, oh, my God. Fucking tree branch. I was pretty upset about that. Never got another opportunity for a nice buck. I passed a lot of bucks this year, but I shot a doe with my gun, and that was it. Bow season was a dud for me.
I shoot a PSE Vision. I've just graduated. I like the Browning. I started in Brownings my whole life. I mean, I had a Mirage, and then I went to a Rage. Both those Brownings. The Rage is now actually my bow fishing bow, but I would love to have a Browning bow to this day.
You hate your PSE.
Dude, I hate it so much. But I bought it because it still feels good in my hand. I just hate it because I can't paper tune it. There's no center shot on that bow. But I shoot that, and I got a QID rest that I just put on there this year, and shooting. What arrows did we just buy?
Shoot.
Oh,
Shoot
the
Gold
Gold Tips Pro Hunter.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Or
I've got
XLs.
a $100 bow with $600 worth of accessories stashed.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
That's the way to go.
That's what mine is. The same way.
Some company just sent us some broadheads to try out as
Afflictors.
afflictors.
Flicker? Yeah.
It's afflictors. They sent us like 4 different types.
I'll probably pump one into a turkey and see how that
Yeah.
works and move on from it.
So
See how it
that's
goes.
a good test dummy there.
Yeah.
Turkeys
for sure.
Turkeys and woodchucks are always my
Yeah.
spring test dummies.
And if they suck, then I'll just bring them out squirrel hunt.
Or decoys.
That killed the shit out of a decoy.
That was a brand new
The
Avian
Avian
X.
X. Yeah. Oh
It's
man.
expensive.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Those.
Yeah.
Shoot. Those are awesome decoys. But we took the winner of the youth hunt last year, and he was out there with a shotgun, him and his dad, and there's a video of it, and you could see it's Tom coming in a string over there to smash my decoy. I'm like, all right, because the whole time this thing had to move from the right to the left to where the decoy was set up, and he was, I don't know, 10 yards away the whole time.
Max.
And so, I mean, he's right in front of him. The decoy's way over here. He just kind of puffed up. The fan's on the right, so you could shoot this thing right in the face. What does this kid do is had to change windows and wait till he's right on top of my brand new inflatables, my Avian X, both the half-strut Jake and the hen. And I'm like, oh, no. I'm videotaping the whole time. Like, dude, I'm like, it's worth it, I guess, but do it for the gram, dude. Just like, boom, just smashes this bird, and every pellet missed at both those decoys.
Somehow, man.
And dude, he was on top of it. He died on top of the decoys. But yeah, that's sad.
I'm thinking about using my bow for turkey this year, but I don't know.
I've shot a bunch of my bow during the spring, and now it's like when I travel, I take my bow, and then in Michigan, I think it's because I take enough people. Something about smashing their beak. Like I want to take one's beak completely off its face. I've taken half a beak off, but I haven't taken a whole beak off.
That's why I was telling these guys. John Eberhard, last night asked us, like, why do you bring them in so close with a shotgun? I'm like, I'm gonna take the head right off.
I've had a gobble at like
decapitate
4
bird.
yards, and like being able to feel that in your chest. It's
So
such
the
a
one
cool
I shot
feeling,
was
man.
5 yards away. It was right there in
I
front
mean,
of us.
It's cool when they gobble right there. I can't help it. When I bow hunt, my decoys are at 7 yards max. Period.
Yep.
Always, because I mean,
They're gonna hold you up.
yeah, if
They're
they want to
still
hold up
within
at
bow
30,
range.
I'm still going to kill you. But even with a shotgun, they're probably about 10 yards.
Yeah,
good
so
enough
this
for me.
year I'm going back to I have the Magnus bullhead, so I'm going to end up shooting it with my my target bow because I have 60-pound limbs. But so I'm doing the same thing. I'm gonna lop their head off.
I haven't done that
Magnus,
yet.
The guillotine ones,
yeah.
the big old 4-inch guy.
Yep, 4-inch.
Yeah.
It's
I've been,
sweet. Mine's the bullhead. So
I can't wait to try it. I've been filming my dad do it for the last few years. His goal is to kill a turkey with a different weapon every year until he runs out of ideas. So like, he's done the compound, he's done the crossbow, he did a 410 handgun, like a Taurus Judge. He shot one like 4 yards with that thing. He
got one of those recurve
he
last
did the
year.
recurve last year. He's using a bow fishing rig this year. He's in a bow fish one. That's his plan for this year.
really,
Yeah. So
with the string and
Interesting.
everything.
yeah, with the string and everything. I tried it like 3 years ago. You have to have them inside of 15 yards because everything's just too heavy and slow.
I'll say that big old fiberglass.
I passed up like 9 different times that I would have shot with even my compound. I could have killed, but I missed one with it. It's just a totally different ballgame. But he'll kill one. That dude's way too patient. He'll kill one with that thing.
Awesome.
Very.
Yeah, I have the Magnus bull, the bullhead. I bought those actually several years ago, and the bow at the time I had I only had 70-pound limbs. And I was trying to build the arrows.
Only had 70-pound limbs. Coming from
I didn't have any 60s.
That's like
I'm saying that was
6'6".
Yeah.
and
0% body fat.
and I couldn't. I ended up breaking the head or the blades, bent the other set, and I had a pillow set up.
I was gonna say, how do you practice with that?
So what they suggest is I took like a ratchet strap, put it between two trees, and then I hooked a pillow with an old set of blue jeans and a old sweatshirt, so that way the target swings. So it's going to take up. It's not like hitting a solid target where you're going to
Essentially,
really.
it's like shooting at a net. It kind of just wants to stop
Exactly.
the arrow instead
And
of going
so
in.
and then I made like a little drawing of a turkey head, but even with all that, I was like the first arrow. I ended up shooting it on my son's bow at like 50 pounds and perfect. I got perfect arrow flight, and then I tried it on my bow and I bent the blades
What the hell
and I
is
broke
your
them.
son? Your son's a mammoth too. He's shooting 50. How old is your son?
He's 16 now.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Nice.
So
They make me. He's like, oh, he's only 8. 50-pound man.
He's also 6 foot.
He's the size of Scott.
he's 6 foot now. So this was a couple years ago. So he was 14 at the time. But so anyway, I just gave it up, and I'm like, so I ended up buying these 4-inch expandable broadheads,
Sweet.
and I never got an opportunity to. That year, we ended up like we hunted a little
No,
bit.
you didn't hunt at all. I don't think you turkey hunted.
Yeah, matter of fact, I didn't. I was like, shit came up, and I didn't go out. Then last year, Adam had first season, and that's when we had all the action. The second season was mine. We went back up. That's when we had the birds in the
draw.
the draw down there, and 2 nice toms come down, but they were henned up, and they, the closest they got was 60 yards. If I would have had an open shot, I probably would have actually taken one with my bow. I mean,
I'm a big, I don't know, like some guys are weird about it because the turkey's vitals are so small, but I shoot the biggest expandable I can shoot into
Right.
them.
yeah, 4-inch. I'm like 60 yards. I can hit the bird at 60 yards,
Oh,
and I got a 4-inch expandable.
4 inches.
Yeah.
That's taking up most of his
Their
body.
whole diaphragm is only about 8 inches wide. I mean, they're small when you feather them out. There's really nothing to them.
But yeah, so the hen, man, she was pissed. She just kept, she took him off, and so that was like the closest I had, for an opportunity last year. But,
Yeah.
So this year, back to the.
But
so,
he's up first this year. So
So anyway, when we're at ATA, back to the Magnus, we talked to the ranch fairy, and ranch fairy was down there, and he was hanging out at the Magnus booth. So we ended up going over there, and then I talked to the owner, whoever it was, Mike, and he's like, well, they have a lifetime warranty. Just send me a picture, and I'll send you a new set of heads.
Oh, shit, nice.
I'm like, or if they're bent, broke, whatever.
Yeah.
And so I finally got around to it last week. I took some pictures, emailed them, and he's like, well, how are the ferrules? Are those bent? I'm like, no, they're straight. How many blades? I'm like, oh, two sets or whatever.
Yeah.
6 of them. And a couple days later, they were in the mail. I got them. So
Nice.
And
Just
it's not because we're anybody special. They have a lifetime warranty.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So
So
you
it's
just got good customer service. That says something a lot. It says
good
a lot about the company for sure.
So I just had to put that out there. I appreciate those guys.
It's not because you guys are the Bowhunter Chronicles.
Yeah, we are not. So the way that this podcast is touted is I'm the world's worst bow hunter.
Oh.
That's what makes it.
And I'm the world's worst podcaster.
It's very accurate.
No,
So-
you just didn't know about us yet.
Yeah, right. They're like, holy shit,
We're
we got to
right
do
there.
a podcast with these
We're
dumbasses.
right there. It's almost like perfect.
Their guy just
We're-
leaves right when it starts. He
Yeah.
walks away.
We're terrible.
He's the sound guy.
We've done
Oh,
podcasts.
we're podcasting with these guys. Mic drop. I'm fucking out of here.
Yeah, yep. We're right there with you guys.
Oh man, this has been fun. Show's getting ready to
Close up.
kind of
yeah.
close down,
Yeah.
and
Yeah, I guess it
everything's.
is. It's closed early today, 8 o'clock.
Yeah, it's an hour. It started an hour early, closed an hour early. So
But yeah, so definitely check out the Times Up Outdoors, on Carbon TV, all that stuff. We're on their podcast, so that one's going to get a lot of
that one is
traffic.
most.
honestly that was probably my most fun podcast I've ever done.
Yeah,
last
the audio might be just complete shit, but it was fun.
night. It sounded great. I already listened to it.
Well, yeah, not only that, we got Ernie Power from
Yeah.
Tethered, and we got,
Johnny
Johnny
Eberhard.
Eberhard. So,
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's cool.
Yeah.
how
So
come
what-
when you see the spike in that, it doesn't have anything to do with them. It's from
It's
ours.
going to be
Yeah, well, yeah.
John.
the
Yeah.
Bowhunter Chronicles.
Oh, trust me, our
first.
our podcast downloads are, they're whatever.
About 7.
Yeah, I mean we're getting a few hundred people listening, and then all of a sudden there's the John Eberhard one we did last year, and it's like 7,000, and it's like, whoa, what happened? I showed him that yesterday, and he was like, wow, that makes me feel pretty good.
But so where can people follow along with what you're doing, and if they want to get involved with your turkey contest, how long is that running, and where do they sign up for that?
So the turkey was only for the show.
No,
No, we'll put it up.
we'll
Oh.
put it out there.
See?
We'll put
Let's
it
run
out
it.
there for more people to do it.
Yeah, I want to give as many kids the opportunity as we can. For sure.
Yeah, we'll probably start posting some stuff on our Facebook for it to get more people involved, and then Instagram, Facebook. That's where you're going to find out anything new that's going on, like current, up-to-date stuff. Our YouTube channel is mostly like older stuff. Because right now we have our actual show goes on Carbon TV, and we have 7 episodes there right now, and there'll be 7 more coming. And then our podcast is twice a month on Carbon TV. So
As
anything,
well as iTunes, all
iTunes,
that,
you
yeah.
can listen to us on iTunes.
Google Play.
Anything else new is going to be going on Carbon TV, and then we'll kind of recycle old stuff onto YouTube. But mainly, if you want to find out what's going on, follow us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram. Our Instagram, you're going to find a lot more funny stuff going on our story. We goof off in the firehouse, and you see shit like that, and stuff that you're not going to be able to see if you aren't a fireman or you don't follow us. Yeah, Facebook, it's more news and shit like that.
Well, awesome, guys. I really appreciate it. We'll have to do this again.
Yeah,
You
for
know.
sure.
I just have to say one thing. These guys are Detroit firemen, right? I mean,
Yeah.
the real deal. So, like, I think we heard this last night. These guys are like, what did you say? You were saying it.
I
you
didn't
said
say
like,
anything.
you
You
said-
can't call me out like that.
yeah.
He said,
What'd
like,
you say,
as far as
Scott?
podcasting,
Oh, okay,
we're like
so
the
here it
Joe
is.
Rogan podcast of
These
the fire
guys-
department.
no, they're
like to be like us.
As,
No,
like in
it's
the
a
deer hunting world, these guys
It's
are
like
like
the
the
Johnny
Johnny
Eberhard.
Eberhards and the Dan Infall.
Not us particularly, but Detroit
like
Fire.
over there.
So we
Like-
just have to.
Like that
So they
guy
said
right
these
there.
three right
yeah.
here are.
but
No,
We're looking
as
at 'em.
far as like the world of firefighting goes, Detroit is one of those departments that's way up there with like. There's only a couple other departments that sees as many fires as we do. So when I talk about it, I talk more about the guys like Captain Tonti over here, Nico's dad, and guys that have been around for a lot longer than we
Right.
have.
Oh,
But-
yeah.
we
So
don't know
in the
shit.
world of firefighting, we have that clout just because we're Detroit firemen. So some people will like gravitate to that. They don't realize that we're only like new guys on Detroit.
But
so
all joking aside, though, I just want to thank you guys. I mean, because you guys are the true heroes. I mean, no, I'm serious. I mean, and with just the way you're
Are you
talking
tearing
about.
up?
maybe a little bit, but like the way you talk about, getting kids back, getting kids out into the sport. I mean, it just goes to show. I mean, firemen, you're good guys. So
Appreciate it.
Yeah, we
Appreciate
that.
Absolutely.
Cool.
very much.
So thanks.
Well, now I'm an asshole.
Well, I'd like to say we really appreciate you guys having us on your show.
For sure.
for sure.
Because
Very much.
it's cool to go on other people's shows and meet new people. We talked about it on ours last night, meeting new people in this industry and making relationships. It's what it's all about.
And it goes, for me, especially in the podcast world, kind of helped that out, I feel like, a lot, because before the podcast stuff was big and it was all network TV. I'm going to go hunt this ranch. I'm going to go hunt this. We kind of had an animosity between different hunting groups. I mean, a real cliquey kind of thing in this podcast. Like I said, we just met each other this week. I mean, pretty much we've been listening to your stuff. You knew kind of who we were. We grouped up like, hey, let's just do a collaboration. And so it kind of brings that hunting community together and gets rid of that stigma that used to be like, oh, this guy hates this guy because he's real tree and that's mossy oak. And it's like, man, screw all that. We just want to kill shit and we just want everybody to see it.
Right. Kill shit, drink beer, have fun. That's
Exactly.
it. Yep. So I think that's all we got for today, guys. Thanks
Awesome.
a lot, man.
Thanks,
Yeah,
man.
thanks
Appreciate
a lot.
it.
sit down.